Hi guys, this is part two. Again, I know that most of you guys have already done your notes for part two. I just found this technology this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and do this just so that you guys can listen to it. Hopefully it'll be helpful for you. I'll also go ahead and do part three as soon as I'm done with this, so hopefully whenever you do the notes tomorrow, you can just do the video and that will be there. I'm also going to leave the link there for just the Prezi in case you need to go through it slower than what I'm going through. But the link on the Prezi will not have me talking. So those are kind of some options there. Okay, so this is your part two of your notes. So as a review, part one, we were talking about mania, which was M was militarism, A was alliances, N was nationalism, I was imperialism, and then the last A was assassination. Okay, so here is where we're going to go from there. I do not expect you to write this, and I don't expect you to memorize this. I just want you to see the chaos so that you kind of understand the word better. So after the Archduke was assassinated, and remember I said in the last video that the Archduke was next in line for the throne for Austria-Hungary, okay? We're going to see a lot of stuff go down in a week's time period, okay? So the leader of Germany is Kaiser Wilhelm II. He is going to promise Austria-Hungary, I will be your ally if you decide to go to war over this assassination, okay? Because remember, the Archduke was next in line for the Austro-Hungarian throne, okay? Austria is going to be like, all right, or Austria-Hungary, they're like, I feel pretty good about myself. I've got Germany has my back. So they're going to send this ultimatum to Serbia that basically says, if you don't fully cooperate with everything that we want, we are going to go to war with you. And one of the things that they wanted was they wanted Serbia to basically give up their rights as a country to Austria-Hungary, which there's no way they're going to do that. Austria-Hungary knew that. They're trying to get involved with the war because they're trying to expand their territory. They want Serbia. Okay, let's pause right here. You may be saying, why the heck is Serbia getting the ultimatum? I thought the terrorist group was from Bosnia, which is a part of Austria-Hungary. Well, because that group was supporting Serbia, the people in Austria-Hungary thought that group, that terrorist group, the Black Hand, was supported financially from Serbia, which we don't exactly know, but probably they were. Okay, so pause. All right. The ultimatum goes to Serbia. Serbia says, we'll do whatever you want except for that one thing. Austria-Hungary goes to war July 28th, 1914. Okay? Russia has been a friend of Serbia. So Russia is going to say, Serbia, I got your back since Austria-Hungary is declaring war. Okay, I'm going to get out of this for 1 second and I'm going to show you guys the map again. Okay, so remember Austria-Hungary, which is right here, tells Serbia if they don't do what they want them to do, that they're going to go to war. Russia has Serbia's back. They're on the same team. Germany has Austria-Hungary's back. They're on the same team, okay? So keep in mind, these are the two different alliances that are starting to form. Germany and Austria-Hungary, they're called the Central Alliance because they're in the center of Europe. And then Serbia and Russia are going to be a part of the Triple Entente. It's not called the Triple Entente yet because there's not three people. You're going to see that comes later, okay? All right, let's go back to the notes. All right, so we were at number 4, Russia is defending Serbia. Well, because Germany has Austria-Hungary's back, Russia and Germany are now going to be at odds, and so Germany is going to declare war on Russia. Germany and Russia are right beside each other, and they have been fighting since the beginning that Germany was created as Germany, and even before Germany was Germany, it was called Prussia, and Prussia and Russia are going to be fighting forever, okay? So there's a long history of fighting there. All right. Well, France is an ally of Russia. France is going to declare war on Germany. Again, remember, France is still upset about that little chunk of land called Alsace-Lorraine. So this is their opportunity to get that back. Plus, Germany is right beside France. And so Germany is all the time causing problems. So France is kind of like getting ready for war. Okay, this is where it gets weird. Okay, I'm going to go back to the map so you can see this. All right, here's Germany. Here is France. the best way for Germany to attack France is to come through Belgium. I know that seems weird. Most of you guys are probably like, well, why don't they just go like this way? Okay, there are a lot of mountains right here. This is where the Swiss Alps kind of start right in here. Okay, it kind of goes all the way right in here. Okay, so it's very hard to get through there, and so that's not the quickest way to go. Not to mention that France has a lot of defenses in that area. Okay, so what Germany is going to want to do, get my little thing. What Germany is going to want to do is go through Belgium to hit France. Okay, that is going to be their idea. Okay, remember, Russia is also on Germany's side, but Russia is such a big country, it's going to take Russia several months to mobilize. So what Germany's plan is to come through Belgium, hit France really hard, kick their butt, and then turn back around and go and then kick Russia's butt. That's the plan. But they're going to be on a timeline. They've got to do it really quickly because if they don't, Russia's going to come and get them from behind. Okay. So now we've got Germany declares war on Belgium. They can get to France. Great Britain is going to see what Germany is going to do to Belgium. Belgium was a neutral country, and so Germany is going to be really, really rough on Belgium. It's really tough on the people. It's just really, really ugly. So Great Britain is eventually going to declare war on Germany. All of this happens in the period of about a week. Other countries are eventually going to get involved, like the United States, but we don't get involved until about the last 18 months of the war. So now this conflict is what we okay, like I said, you don't have to memorize that. That was just for you to understand why this feels so crazy. Okay, here was your warm-up. I expected you to do that, to think about how does patriotism, how is that fueling this war? Okay, thinking about the idea of, is it anti-American to criticize the United States? Most of us would think no, because we live in a world where we criticize our government every single day. That is just a different world than what they lived in back then. So I wanted you to write this down, at least 3 sentences somewhere on your notes, just to kind of think about it and get your brain warmed up and thinking. Okay. All right, here's where your notes actually start. So mobilization. Whenever you look at the word mobilization, I want you to see the word mobile, which means to move, okay? So we're moving towards war. This is an action that a country is going to take to prepare itself for war. It takes a while to get ready to go. Just like whenever we canceled school, like you guys actually coming to school, everything wasn't ready immediately. It took a couple days for teachers to get things together, to get things organized. We're still organizing things. We're still figuring out what that means. It's even bigger whenever you mobilize for a war. So you have to do things like get an army ready, get that army trained, get weapons ready, all of those things. So a country during this time period might be making soup cans. Well, they've got to change over all their factories. So instead of making soup cans, they can make bullets, things like that. Okay, so that's what is kind of going on. All right, so 1914, we're going to go through this kind of like a timeline. All right, Germany is fighting the war on 2 different fronts. Okay, I'm going to get out of this so you can see my little pen again. All right, let's use blue. Okay, this is Germany, okay? So what is called the Western Front is right here. They're going to be fighting France. And the Eastern Front over here is they're going to be fighting Russia, okay? Remember, we talked about their plan was that they were going to come through, they're going to hit France, do it very quickly, and turn back around. And by the time they get back over to Russia, Russia will finally be ready to fight, okay? That is their plan. We're going to talk about that plan in just a second. Okay, another thing, this is Kaiser Wilhelm II. This is on the bottom right of your screen. He is the Emperor of Germany, and his goal is to take over all of Europe. That sounds kind of crazy. It wasn't crazy during this time period. We're not that far off from Napoleon, and Napoleon like pretty much did that, okay? So it's not so crazy an idea. Another thing to keep in mind is look at these pointy hats. This is like a symbol that is going to be of the military in Germany. Just look for that whenever we look at pictures so we can figure out who soldiers we're looking at, okay? All right, the Schlieffenplan. It's a very fun word to say, Schlieffenplan. That's what Germany's plan was. That was that plan we just talked about where, let me get my pen again, where Germany is going to come through Belgium, hit France, turn it around, and then come back, and then they're going to hit Russia, okay? If they do not get back in time, Russia is going to attack them from behind, and they will not be ready. So that is a very bad thing for Germany. If Germany is able to get through France quick enough and turn around, they're going to be successful, and they're going to be successful very quickly, and this war will be over, and Germany will win. Okay, so that's what we're going to see. Okay, um, because Germany chooses to go through Belgium and they hit Belgium so hard, that is going to make Great Britain enter the war to kind of defend Belgium, to help France fight back against Germany, because Belgium was a neutral country. Going through a neutral country is basically saying, I am not playing by the civil rules of war, okay? Not that there necessarily are civil wars of rules of war, but that's kind of the idea there. Okay, so let me show you guys another thing. Let me erase this. All right, what's going to happen is once Great Britain gets involved, there's going to be a stalemate on the River Marne, which is kind of like right here. It's in France, okay? On one side, you're going to have the British and the French over here. Then on the other side, you're going to have the Germans that are over here. Okay, this is going to turn into what's called trench warfare. We'll talk about that more in a second. But basically, neither side is able to move, and they're going to get stuck at that spot for about 3.5 years for the majority of the rest of the war. This is a really, really difficult way to fight war because you don't feel like you're winning, and you just have a lot of people dying. That's not a great thing. Okay, and then there's this other thing that we need to talk about, and you need to remember it. It's called unrestricted submarine warfare, and that is what Germany is doing. Basically, it's unrestricted, meaning that they are willing to attack anything that moves. Their submarines are. So any ship that comes through, whether it is a trade ship or whether it's military, is going to get blown up. Okay, so any trade ship that is bringing supplies, whether it's for the war or whether it's just regular trade from, say, the United States, who's not involved in the war, that is going to be part of that Schlieffen plan for Germany. Okay. Moving on, the British strategy, what they plan to do was blockade the German coast. So they're going to lay a lot of mines along the coast and slightly off the coast, which is going to make Germany be really stuck, okay? If we look at a map of Germany, I'm going to go back to this. If you look at Germany, they have got people on all sides, okay? And if you look at that, the people around them are not their friends. So Russia is on this side, France is on this side. You got Austria-Hungary down here, but they're busy fighting the war down here, so they can't really help. So basically, what the United Kingdom is doing is they're making sure that this area right here and this area right here, that Germany can't get out to get supplies. Okay, this is going to cause the German people to have a really, really difficult time, and they're going to run out of food pretty quickly. And that was the goal. The goal was to make the German people want the war to be over very quickly. Okay. All right, this is what's called the First Technological War, which means that the technology is really advanced for the time period. We've got tanks, we've got machine guns. We've had kind of a machine gun type thing for a while. We had what was called the Gatling gun in the Civil War, but it wasn't a great weapon. If you guys think about fighting a war, it's dirty, it's in all kinds of weather, and those guns jammed up. Machine guns do a lot better. Poison gas, this is going to be like chlorine gas, or it's called mustard gas. This is a really, really, really bad thing. After this war, it's actually going to be banned as a war crime to use it. And later on, maybe we'll see some pictures of what it does to people, but it's really terrible. Big Bertha, so if you look at that gun on the right, that is Big Bertha. This is a 75-mile range cannon, which means that you could hit a target from 75 miles away, which is really, really important if you're stuck in the same place for 3.5 years, okay? This involves a lot of math. If you get your calculations off just a little bit, you're going to shoot a school instead of shooting a military base. Very important. Airplanes. This is going to change the way that wars are fought. In the beginning, these airplanes were just for making observations, so just looking at where the trenches for the other side were, where the battle lines were, different things like that. But as the war goes on, you're going to get guns are going to become attached to this, and you're going to have what are called flying aces. So if you've ever heard of Red Baron, there's actually a pizza company named after that. Next time you go to the grocery store, look in the frozen pizza section. This picture on the left side is the Red Baron. You'll see his actually the drawing on the box is of that. That was a German flying ace. He was very, very, very famous. He was kicking butt and taking names. Okay, and then there's going to be some other guys too that are really influential in this. You can look this up on YouTube. We do not have time to talk about that anymore. If you guys remember, I showed some of you guys a picture of the World War One flyer that Doug was working on. That's who his flyer was on. Okay. All right, so this is going to lead to trench warfare, which are basically these really deep ditches that they dig and then they fight out of. And they get stuck in these for not an individual person, like people would leave and they would come back after they might get stuck there for a couple weeks. But these don't move. Like people, the idea is that you take more land and you move forward and you dig new trenches, but the battle lines don't move. More than a couple miles over a 3.5 year time period. So you got to think about how hard it would be to be stuck in these, just feeling like you're not making any progress, and all that's happening is people are dying around you. Okay, look at this picture in the top left corner. These guys are picking something off their shirts. They're picking lice off their shirts. Lice was a huge problem because people were stuck in these trenches for weeks on end, no real way to bathe and clean themselves. And if one person got it, it spread really quickly. If you look in the bottom right hand corner, whenever it rained, that water pooled up in the trenches and people were standing in it. And I don't know if you've ever seen your feet, if you're in the pool too long, they get shrivelly. Well, imagine if you're standing in that for a week and in wet boots for a week. They're going to create sores, trench foot, gangrene, lots of problems there. If you look in the bottom left, those are German soldiers. Look at their hats. Remember, I told you the pointy hat, that means German. I don't know if you know, but like where France and Germany are, that's the same latitude as like mid Canada. Very cold up there, really harsh winters. So they were really exposed to the elements. Okay. 1916. Italy, sorry, originally fought with the Central Powers, that is with Austria-Hungary and Germany. Later on, they have a disagreement with Austria-Hungary. They're going to end up joining the Triple Entente. In the meantime, Woodrow Wilson is the president of the United States. The United States is still not involved in the war, and the president is running for his second term, and his slogan is, "He kept us out of the war." So that's the whole plan, but at the same time, Wilson is kind of preparing the United States to be involved. Okay, so we are going to remain neutral for the first 3 years of the war. We're only involved for about 18 months, okay? So in the beginning, we did this because no American lives or property were being threatened, and the phrase that's used a lot is over there, talking about in Europe, okay? Most Americans believe that this was some European problem. It's part of this imperialist struggle. There's nothing in it for us. Why take the risk? So we kind of stay out of it. Okay, things start to change. So first off, we're seeing the bad things that Germany is doing in Belgium. Remember, Belgium was a neutral country. Also, the information that we're getting is from Britain. So Britain may have exaggerated that a little bit using propaganda because Britain wanted us to fight. They needed help, and we're going to see why in just a second. Okay, remember we talked about that unrestricted submarine warfare. So Germany is hitting anything that is in the water that is not them. So that includes passenger ships like the Lusitania. There are Americans on that ship, not a ton. You guys are going to read about this in a second. Also, most historians believe that that ship was also being used to smuggle some war goods to Great Britain. And Germany said, hey, anything that's in the water, we're going to hit. So they warned the United States and Great Britain, and we continued to send ships over. They're going to sink several. So the Arabic is going to be sunk 2 months later. The Sussex is going to be sunk even further. The Sussex is a big one because Germany kind of said after the Arabic, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. We're sorry. And then they sink the Sussex. And so that's a break of a promise. And so that's going to be a problem. All right, Zimmerman telegram. Russia is going to have a revolution. Basically, the communist socialist rebels in the country overthrow the royal family. Think Anastasia. That movie is a terrible representation of what's going on, but that is the royal family. So the royal family is killed. And they've got their own problems. They don't need to be fighting a war. And so Russia is going to bow out of the war. Remember, Russia is on the side of Great Britain and France. So now Great Britain is like, great, we really, really need some help. We need somebody to help us. And they really want the United States to be that somebody. Okay. We do a lot of trade with Great Britain and France. And so we're not able to do that trade because they're fighting a war. They're not able to buy our stuff. And so that's pushing us closer and closer to war. All right, last thing for this part 2, and then we're going to be done with this. Okay, so even though we're remaining neutral, Wilson is not, remember, he's the president of the United States. He is preparing the country for war. We are mobilizing. That was the word for this unit or for this section. So there's 2 different acts that are passed. The National Defense Act is building up our military, and the Naval Construction Act is building up the warships. So naval, think Navy, Navy, think warships. Remember, I told you guys the primary way that we're fighting a war during this time period is through ships. Okay, remember we talked about that with the Panama Canal and all of that. That's really important. So we're building up our fleet. Teddy Roosevelt, who was president 2 people ago, he built up the naval fleet a little bit as well. And so we're kind of continuing to build that up. The guy that was president between Teddy Roosevelt and Wilson, Taft, he's going to dismantle some of those ships. So we're building it back up. We're preparing for war. Okay, that is part 2. Hopefully that is helpful. Part 3 will be tomorrow. All right, see you guys, I guess, tomorrow. Bye.